The heads of the world's largest economies will meet at this year's G7 summit, which begins later in Canada. They are expected to discuss and overcome their differences on a spread of pressing global issues. On top of the agenda is the escalating conflict between Iran and Israel, as well as the war in Ukraine and Donald Trump's trade war. Nick Harper reports from Calgary.
Well, a whole list of problems and geopolitical crises that these G7 nations will need to try and find consensus on during the course of this three-day summit. But at a time when there is incredible disunity between the seven of them. They come here to Canada dealing with a trade war and tariffs imposed by Donald Trump on the other nations within that G7 grouping. Undoubtedly, they will be speaking about that and probably having bilateral meetings with the US president to try and work out individual trade deals to remove the tariffs imposed against them. The flare-up between Iran and Israel will also be topping the agenda, as will the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. We're told that the seven will discuss a possible plan to reduce the amount of money that Russia is able to get from selling the oil that it does around the world, capping it at $45 a barrel, bringing it down from $60 a barrel. They're trying to find consensus on that. But we're also told that Prime Minister Mark Carney, as the chair country hosting this year's event, wants to talk about how to deal with wildfires, how to look at AI and digital infrastructure, energy security and building infrastructure. But we're also told that there will be some topics that the G7 will be avoiding, topics that they already do not see eye to eye on, in particular climate change, and a note of disunity as we head into this multilateral summit. There is this suggestion that there will be no joint communique at the end of the summit, simply because they don't want a repeat of what happened in 2018 when Canada was last hosting it in Ottawa, where Donald Trump agreed not to sign the statement and put out on social media disparaging remarks against the then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, calling him weak and dishonest. They want to try and avoid that. They also want to try and avoid the US president overshadowing this summit and detracting from the very real crises that they will be trying to deal with. Nick Harper, CNA, Calgary, Canada.